Perhaps you could tell us your name. What does it matter? Then tell us. John Smith, you're real.
He's lying. Look at his face.
His eyes are the same as hers.
Why won't you tell us?
It's as simple.
He's been lying to us right from the start.
Doctor.
Name.
Just
No
say
one's
it.
called John Smith.
Now, listen to me.
Come on,
Listen to me.
Right from the very beginning of Doctor Who, there's been a lingering question that has never been answered, and which, I argue, should never be answered. What is the Doctor's name? Because what does it really matter? Suppose one day we discover the Doctor's name is John. How does that improve the show? Would giving the character a name help tell a story, or give audiences something new to think about? It wouldn't. Instead, providing a name for the Doctor would just remove another element of mystery from the show, and in the process it would invalidate the show's name, Doctor Who. Sure, we could give the Doctor a serious name like Vendratoth or Galdesson, but why? Or we could give the Doctor a silly name like Bobblewatchet, but then the show is stuck with that forever. It's one of the many questions about the show that should never be answered. Sometimes not answering a question is as important, narratively, as answering it. Sometimes a question is better left alone entirely. Let's consider what we know about the Doctor's name. We know that the Doctor has a name. River Song knows it and whispers his name in the library to convince the Doctor to trust her.
Doctor, one day I'm going to be someone that you trust completely. But I can't wait for you to find that out. So I'm going to prove it to you. And I'm sorry. I'm really very sorry.
She speaks his name again at the Doctor's tomb. Both times the audience can't hear it, but it's clear that she knows it. Drax, another Time Lord, calls the Doctor Theta Sigma, which is presumably some kind of identifier given at college, but that's not his real name. We do know the kinds of names that Time Lords have. Rassilon, Barusa, Andred, Rodan, Drax, these are all Time Lord names. So chances are the Doctor's name is also probably 1 to 3 syllables. But hang on, didn't Romana have a very long name?
It's too long. By the time I've called out, look out. What's your name?
Romana Dvaratna Lunda.
By the time I've called that out, you could be dead. I'll call you Romana.
I don't like Romana.
It's either Romana or Fred.
All right, call me Fred.
This is played as a bit of a joke, and it would therefore be odd if the Doctor's name was that long or even longer, wouldn't it? We'd actually seen more Time Lords who lacked names than those who'd been given names. The meddling monk, the Master, and later the Rani were all renegades who lacked names too. It has got me thinking, could there be an in-universe reason for this lack of names? If you compare these two groups, there's an obvious division. Those Time Lords who are given names live on Gallifrey. The renegade Time Lords, including the Doctor, have only titles, not names. Could there be a reason why renegades don't have names? So my idea is simple. If you steal a TARDIS and flee from Gallifrey, the Time Lords will take your name from you. Your name is literally erased from your mind. It's a kind of sentence passed on renegades, binding you back to Gallifrey. You want to know your name again? Return home, and you can have that piece of your identity back. Otherwise, you will forever be in exile from your own people, and from yourself.
Yes, my civilization. I tolerate this century, but I don't enjoy it. Have you ever thought what it's like to be wanderers in the fourth dimension? Have you? To be exiles? Susan and I are cut off from our own planet, without friends or protection. But one day, we shall get back. Yes, one day. One day.
I imagine it as some kind of curse of Rassilon, perhaps built into the barriers around Gallifrey that has this effect. Anyone who leaves Gallifrey, unless authorised to do so, has their name taken from them as a kind of insurance to induce them to one day return. The Time Lords have previously shown they can erase knowledge from the Doctor's mind. While he was in exile on Earth, the secret of time travel was not available to him. To me, this idea that renegades are stripped of some vital part of themselves makes sense. Their names are erased from their minds, and so they must invent something in its place. The master calls himself what he wants to be, a master, someone powerful with control over others. The Rani too is a kind of queen. The Corsair sounds like a pirate. We know nothing else much about this character, but the name is evocative. And the Doctor calls himself the Doctor to hold himself to a promise to do good. At times there have been suggestions over the years that the Doctor has a secret, and his name might be part of that secret. There could be many reasons. The Doctor could be ashamed of his past. For example, he could be Tecteun. But if that was the case, he'd only be ashamed if he knew what Tecteun did. Or the Doctor could have been someone important but problematic, like Omega or Rassilon or some other Time Lord from distant Time Lord history. But that doesn't really mesh with the First Doctor's interactions with either of these characters, who generally treated him as someone relatively unimportant. Or the Doctor could share a name with someone else, which would make for confusion. For example, his name could be Rassilon, but no, not that Rassilon. This is another Rassilon. There are all kinds of explanations one could invent, but none of them are compelling or particularly interesting. It's not the name that's important in those kinds of situations, it's the character's deeds. So we're really straying into discussing the Doctor's origin story, which is a bit of a different topic. Let's get back to the name. If the Doctor had his name wiped from his memory, it's possible the Doctor never even knew his name for much of the TV show. Despite saving Gallifrey on a few occasions, every time he left Gallifrey, Rassilon's curse might have removed his name from his mind once more. This might help explain a certain bit of dialogue.
River, you know my name.
Auto-destruct in...
You whispered my name in my ear.
9, 8, 7,
There's only one reason I would ever tell anyone my name.
5...
There's only one time I could.
That could have been when he was on Gallifrey. But then his name seems to be known somewhere.
What's that mean?
Even the word doctor is false. Your real name is hidden. It burns in the stars, in the cascade of Medusa herself. You are a lord, sir. A lord of time.
So perhaps this time his name was known widely was during the Time War itself, and perhaps using that name is thus a shameful reminder of what he did in that war. In any case, this explanation means the Doctor doesn't know his name for most of the show's history. I like the idea that it is River who tells him his name here, which he recognises as his own. Then later she makes him tell her his name, the name that he only knows because she told him earlier.
Well, I know it.
What? You know his name, he told you?
I made him.
How?
It took a while.
That's the kind of timey-wimey paradox that I think would make perfect sense in this show. The Doctor only knows his name because River told it to him, and River only knows his name in the first place because he repeats it back to her when he's older, but she's younger.
Can I have your name, please? When I can remember it. You don't know your own name? Of course I know it. Just can't remember it. It's right there on the tip of my... What's that?
Tongue?
Tongue!
Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to hit some of those buttons. I'm Dr. Howe. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.